if it was illegal to say stupid things into a microphone.
Why must you be so stupid?
These guys would be doing life without parole.
Hey, everybody, we're back from prison.
Why do we keep encouraging this kind of behavior? It's the Breaking the Ice podcast with Josh Dolan.
You know, we could, go to jail for this.
Along with Mike Shue and Isaiah Moskahana Mana Blitz Boskowitz, whatever the hell his name is.
Podcast forever.
Well, I'm very excited to talk to Frank Turner.
Oh, me too.
I was just diving into a bunch of his stuff. I like the whole "Make America Great Again" when he went on the streets of Austin.
Oh, I didn't see
Did you
that.
see that video?
No.
He's just like British guy in a little bow tie, walks out into the streets of Austin with, what makes, in your opinion, what makes America great? And it's just funny. It's just good. He's clearly not a Trump fan.
Oh, I thought that was the theme song for Trump's campaign.
Well, that's why you just read the headline. You didn't actually listen to the song.
You did listen to the song.
Something about racism and racist people, and yeah. So we still don't have a president?
No, it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
I say by the weekend.
It'll be 60. Everybody will be outside, and they'll just quickly announce it. So-and-so is the president.
They'll announce it Friday night at 9:30.
Right.
And then everyone will wake up Monday morning and go, when did that happen? Fucking
what?
Patriots.
Fucking blame it on Cam Newton. This is Tom Brady's fault. It's Tom left town. Everything went to shit.
I just hope my candidate won. So if
I voted for somebody.
I voted for Joe Rogan. So, I mean,
he would be good. He has more people watching his podcast than, what didn't you say, like Fox and all the channels combined?
Oh, yeah. He has more influence than the president. So why not just vote for him?
Presidents don't really have influence. They're idiots.
He really
Plural.
does.
No.
I mean, it's amazing, though, that just the way the votes are rolling out here. America doesn't want a president, I'm convinced. America wants a king. Something we should talk to Frank Turner about.
A king?
Yeah. They don't want a president to represent them. They want a king to tell them what to do.
Oh,
or a queen. What about a queen?
Let's get whatever. They want a monarchy. We want to go back to the monarchy. We got to talk to Frank Turner about that.
Tell me what to do.
Queen, here we go.
About that. There he is. There's Frank.
Frank.
Turner. What's up, man?
What's going on?
Good. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
I made it just on time. I was in the middle of losing my mind doing some recording and then went, fuck, it's nearly time. So
we've already all lost our minds, bro.
Yeah, our minds are gone, man.
We were just talking about how we should give America back to England. So,
well, yes. I was going to say, this is quite a day to be having a conversation with three American people.
Right. None of us.
Mike just made a good point. By the way, Frank, I'm Isaiah. That's Josh, and that's Mike. Thanks for coming on Breaking the Ice.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We were just talking about how Mike just said we don't think that our country wants a president. We want to have a dictator. We want to have a king or a queen. What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, not that the Queen exercises much in the way of meaningful political power in this country, but the bit where you guys kicked out the king a couple hundred years ago, whenever it was, that was pretty cool. We were all quite into that.
We kind of do have a royal family. We have the Kardashians.
Oh, God.
I'm still not entirely. Obviously I know who the Kardashians are, but I'm still not entirely sure who they are. A few years ago, there's a British comedian called Bill Bailey. I don't know if you know Bill Bailey. He's amazing. And I was on a breakfast TV show, and it was me and him and these two kids who are YouTubers, right? Which is a thing these days, apparently.
Right.
And Bill, who is a little older than me, was hilarious because what he did was he kept just every sort of 2 minutes he'd just go, but what do you actually do to these guys? And they just couldn't he was obviously fucking with them. He's a comedian, but it was just hilarious because they were just really struggling to justify their existence. And it's like, well, we just sort of film us doing stuff and put it on YouTube. And he was like,
Yeah. That's the Kardashians. Have you seen that series?
I mean, that's what I think of it. I mean, it's a similar kind of vibe, right? It's just like,
oh God. Have you seen that David Letterman special on Netflix? What is it? My Next Guest. He just had Kim Kardashian on, and they're so filthy rich, and it's really Instagram. They just started dicking around on Instagram. Obviously, her father was very famous, being one of OJ's lawyers or whatever. But aside from that, now what do? You sell clothes and makeup, and you're a friggin' trillionaire. Great.
I mean, there's part of me that's you know, hats off. They've made a shitload of money, and none of us have. So you know,
but doing what though? You're right. I mean, that's the question. A shitload of money, just being
What?
awful people and letting us watch them do it.
You know,
letting us watch them be awful people.
They could use their platform to do something other than just advertise their lifestyle. But apparently, that's what they make money.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't blame anyone for making money off social media. I mean, that's you know, social media and the internet in general can be used for a lot of good. But
yeah, I mean, it's
sometimes.
I think that social media and the internet is like, it's a tool. It's like fire, and you can use fire to make your food taste better, or you can use it to burn down your house. And in the same way, like I remember, I mean, that's definitely think that the needle is pushed in one direction rather than the other right now. But I can remember when like Twitter first started, I did a bunch of like secret Twitter shows, as in like advertising where I was going to be as the day went on. And it was really exciting and it was really cool. And you could bring people together and you could do all this really interesting stuff in terms of unifying people and communities in a virtual way and all this sort of stuff. And it was really cool. Now people use it to scream at people they disagree with. And that seems less valuable to me, if I'm honest with you. And indeed, I sort of have a bit of a Twitter policy these days, which is that I don't read replies. I don't use it as anything other than a broadcast tool. You know, it's a one-way interaction as far as I'm concerned, which, you know, some people get a bit annoyed at me for doing that, but it's if for nothing else, it's my own mental health that requires me to do this, because I've definitely, like, my anxiety levels got absolutely shot for a long time because of Twitter. And my woman pointed out to me that I wake up in the morning and check my Twitter replies, and she was like, well, this doesn't seem like a good way of existing.
Not healthy.
Yeah. And the problem is that Twitter kind of dangles this idea that as a public figure of any kind, that you could listen in to every conversation that's being had about you in every bar the world over. And then first of all, no, you can't. And secondly, why would you want to do that?
Right.
It's an insane ambition, and it's so tempting, and I've fallen afoul of it many, many times. But like, there's always going to be people sitting in the corner of a bar that you don't go to, calling you an arsehole, who don't know you and have never met you, and all the rest of it. And that's been true as long as rock and roll has existed. But in the past, people like Mick Jagger didn't hear about it and didn't have any ambition to hear about it. And why on earth, I'm not saying I'm like Mick Jagger, but you know what I mean, like why on earth
we got that subliminal message, we heard you.
Yeah. but you know, why on earth I would want to then go and listen into all these conversations is a mystery, and it took me a time to learn that lesson.
Well, let me ask you this though. You do use social media for some really good stuff, so let's give some examples for that. Are you still going to be doing any more live stuff from like your living room to help out local independent music venues? You've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah,
and we talked about that a lot on this podcast.
Thank you. I did the kind of first round of lockdown over here. I just kind of started. I just did one. I was going to go and do a show at my friend's venue in North London, and then it was like full bore lockdown. Don't leave the house. So I just said, well, why don't I do it from my house, and we'll do it as a fundraiser and blah, blah, blah. It went really well. So then it grew out from there, and we did 16 weeks in the end, my wife and I, and we raised just short of £200,000, which I'm pretty proud of, and it kept a lot of places going through the really rough patch. Over the kind of late summer, early autumn, fall, let's say fall, the government, credit where credit's due. I'm not a huge fan of the government we have over here, but they've actually given a lot of money to support independent venues. A lot of venues, in fact, the Music Venue Trust, who I work with, have said that 96% of the at-risk venues that they've identified have received grants from the government of like £100,000, which is amazing because cool, done, tick. Obviously, that's not every venue, but there's other funds going into that. And it just sort of feels to me at this point like the venues thing is kind of covered for now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, cool. There are other things. So there's a campaign over here called We Make Events, which is about looking after the people behind the scenes in the music industry, crew, tour managers, sound, light, staging, trucking, tour buses, all that kind of thing. And they are very much falling between the cracks over here. They don't have any work. They're self-employed, which means they don't get the furlough system that we have over here. And there's a big campaign around that. So I think I'm going to try and do some stuff for that this time around, because as of midnight tonight, which is in, it's in about 8 hours, we're in lockdown too. So
really?
Yeah, it's coming back as of midnight time, because of course the virus is going to get much, much worse at midnight. So, you know, we'll have to be.
The time thing makes no sense to me. I didn't know the virus could tell time. I was unaware.
It's developed. It's evolved. What can I say? But
it's got a new iWatch. It's like, let's kill people now.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, so I mean, you know, I have various plans afoot. I mean, and they're fun, and they give my week structure when I'm not allowed to leave the house. And you know, and it's to my benefit in the sense that I get to play to my audience, and I'm sure that there have been people who found out who I am during lockdown because of these shows, and so it's not completely disinterested, should we say? But it's fun, it's cool.
So
Talk
like,
about your lockdown compared to ours. Sorry, Josh, but I just want like what when you say lockdown at midnight here in America, we've got 50 different lockdowns because it's like 50 different countries in this country. How are they doing it over there? Where are you right now?
Well, so we were all under the same lockdown for a time. Over the summer, it kind of gradually, midsummer onwards, sorry, my computer's making noise. Midsummer onwards, it kind of like loosened up a bit. And it's become slightly different in Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland because they have devolved political assemblies. So the rules are slightly different there. They went through a phase over here having regional kind of different rules in different regions. So the Northwest was locked down for a bit, and then the Northeast, and then the Midlands. And that got really confusing. And I think that part of the reason that they, not least because people travel around, do you know what I mean? It's like someone who lives in Leeds who's got family in Southampton was like, see you later, I'm fucking going to where it's not locked down, which is obviously not what they're trying to encourage, if you think about it. So they're reintroducing national lockdown. I think it's going to be not quite as harsh as it was in March, but certainly all bars, restaurants closed. Basically, we're told not to leave the house unless we absolutely have to.
We were like that in March, pretty much March and April and May. And
yeah,
don't leave unless you absolutely have to. But it was more like an asking thing. They didn't seem like they were too urgent about it. And then if they said something like that now during this, while we're trying to decide who's going to run this country, there's going to be more guys.
You'll be surprised to learn that I know about this. I didn't quite stay up all night. My sister did.
I did, and it's
shit show. It's a total shit show.
It is.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's a shame because I am, if nothing else, an enormous America-phile, if that's a word, like fan of America. I think America is a wonderful place, and I've had lovely experiences over there and met beautiful people and have a lot of respect for its history, its culture, and its institutions. And it's a shame right now. I don't perhaps know enough to comment about it in detail, but
nobody does, but everyone talks anyway. That's the great thing.
Well, okay, that is true. But a little humility.
I got off social media because all my friends are apparently political experts, and I didn't know they were all fucking doctors.
Oh, they're all scientists. They're all weather experts when it starts snowing.
Yeah, this is one of the
problems
with social media to a degree. And like, actually, funnily enough, I wrote a song about this. There's a song on Be More Kind called Get It Right, which is about how I think that there are two expressions we could all bear to use more, full stop, but particularly in the context of social media, which is I don't know. And I've changed my mind.
God.
It's entirely possible. If fighting breaks out in Nigeria between the police force and the population, it is entirely legitimate for people like us to go, I don't really know what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Rather than like, well, of course, this demonstrates my pre-existing opinion. It's, do you know what I mean? Fuck off, man. Like, do some reading.
Fuck off, man.
Yeah, and similarly, like when you do further reading about it, it might change your mind, and that's okay. We live in a culture where there's this kind of like opprobrium attached to the idea of changing a mind, which is intellectually deleterious, in my opinion. We should all change our minds when we learn new things or when facts change. That's a thing we should all do, and we should celebrate it, and we should be proud of it. Do you know what I mean? We should say, I used to think this, and then I learned this, and now I think this. Right. And you should get a round of applause for doing that rather than being like, traitor, or whatever.
Well, in this country over the past decade, maybe more, it's been some, learning, getting and educating yourself and bettering yourself, getting informed seems to have been vilified somehow. Like, doing an education, getting the facts right, pursuing the truth has all been vilified.
Absolutely. And I think,
like you're supposed to, so all of a sudden you're a smart ass, and you don't know what it's really like because you spent, all that time in school trying to learn what the world was all about or whatever. For some reason in this country, having an education became a bad thing.
How dare you?
I think you guys are further down that road than we are over here. I'm sort of sad to say for you guys, and happy to say for me. But although I have to say, it often feels like we're kind of trailing in guys' wake, so we have much to look forward to.
Oh God!
But I mean, it's a strange thing. Kind of ideas about objectivity went out of intellectual fashion. I do think this applies across the political spectrum. I think that It's definitely the fringes on both sides are equally as guilty of this, in my opinion. And it's a shame. I'm old fashioned. I believe in objective truth, and I believe in kind of rational argumentation.
But like, even that kind of way of thinking is like, it applies to like a lot of people I see now. They don't want to do any of the work to like get to go where they want to go. They just want to be rich and famous without doing the work. And
sure.
I feel like even one of your lyrics goes very well with that. If you're all about the destination, then just take a fucking flight, you know?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things that's funny to me is like, I am 38 years old, which means in the context of making rock and roll for a living, I'm on the upper edge of the demographic, let's say. Do you know what I mean? It thins out around here, and that's fine. It means I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful for that. But it's an interesting thing because, like, you know, my email address is public domain. I get a lot of emails, and it's a tiny thing, but you notice over time that in the last few years, there's more kids like emailing me like, I want to be famous, and it's like, cool, I can't help you with that. Because to the extent that I am quote unquote famous, it's annoying to me. I don't want to be famous. I want to be a musician. I want to be a good musician. I wouldn't mind being a respected musician. That's cool. That's nothing wrong with that. But it's like my purpose in life is to play music well and to wake up every morning and think about how I could do it better.
And then if you end up paying your bills with that, then cool.
Yeah, totally. And if you turn around and say, hey, I really like the way you play music, I'll go, oh, fucking A, thanks very much. That's cool. But it's not the point, you know what I mean? And there is definitely a sense in which, I mean, you know, it's a little bit, among other things, I'm kind of like, if you want to just be famous, don't be a musician, be an Instagram person. It's way quicker. Do you know what I mean? And like,
be a Kardashian.
Right. Exactly. Be a Kardashian. As far as I'm aware, Kim Kardashian sucks at the bass. So, you know.
Talk about your
Isaiah, hold on a second. I want to kind of pursue what he's saying here. So, you know, you have young musicians, young artists emailing you, you say, and asking you how they become famous. And that's kind of what was it the Lost Evenings Festival was kind of about. You were kind of helping artists kind of create the business and not necessarily how to become famous, but how to kind of nurture themselves and cultivate what they have.
Right. Well, I think, the point is that there are two separate things here. There's being good and even being successful as a musician, and then there's being famous. There are a lot of bad musicians that are famous, and there are a lot of great musicians who aren't, and there are a lot of people who are famous who aren't musicians at all, and so on and so forth. Lost Evenings, it's about, I mean, I guess it's trying to spread the love. There's parts of the music industry which feel like a closed shop at times, and there are people who want to like pull up the ladder. You know, when they become successful, they don't want anyone following in their wake, and I think that's lame. You know, the greatest thing that I can do with my life, I say this sometimes, and it sounds a little bit rehearsed because I have said it before, but it's not untrue. One of my ambitions in life is that in like 20 years' time, a band who I took out as a support act will give me a charity support slot at their Wembley Stadium headline show.
Full
Remember
circle.
this guy? Do you know what I mean? And I'll be, and the thing is, I wouldn't have any bitterness in my heart about that. I'd be so stoked because when I take bands on tour, it's because I think they're fucking great and I want more people to hear them and be excited about them as I am. And so that's the thing I've always done with support acts. When I got Lost Evenings, trying to kind of like amplify that a little bit. The other purpose of that, and this is depressingly true, is that I have this habit of getting drunk and promising people support slots, right? And there's a lot of great bands in the world, right? And I go to a show and I have a few beers and I see a great band and I'm like, man, we're gonna go on tour together. Oh my God, it's gonna be amazing. And I have this, I promise you on my laptop, I have this enormous list of bands that I've promised this to. And what's great about Lost Evenings is I can book so many bands that it takes loads of those implied favors off. And
that's awesome.
Look like less of a dickhead.
You plan on you had to cancel the last one. You actually had one here in Boston.
We certainly did.
A couple years ago at the House of Blues, but do you have any plans to do that virtually or at some kind of big arena, social distancing?
That's a good question, which I don't think I'm going to do Lost Evenings virtually. I think the thing for me is that like the whole thing of like online shows, streaming shows, virtual shows, whatever you want to call them. Suddenly at the beginning, it was like, well, this is a stopgap. This is the only thing we can do right now. It fills a hole and it's kind of like, it's still communicating with people and all the rest of it. But very, very strongly in my heart, this is not a replacement for an actual show. This is not going to stand in the stead of it. And I think most people felt like that. The conversation moved on a little bit now, and I'm still pretty kind of like resistant to the idea that this might be a kind of component of the future in the sense that it's not the same. For me, what I love about shows and about rock and roll is the ephemerality of it, the idea that you're just in this one night when it's this one group, one particular selection of people, one particular band, one particular room, and there's something magic happens and it can never be recreated, which is why live DVDs are a waste of time, even though I just put one out. But do you know what I mean? It's like there's a magic that was there, and if you weren't there, then fuck it, buy a ticket for later on in the tour or whatever.
Right.
Now, the thing is, obviously this whole thing is lasting much longer than most people initially thought that it would, and that might change things. And the one argument that has changed my mind about this a tiny bit is that there are demographics for whom going to shows is going to be problematic for a long time, if not indefinitely. I'm talking about people with respiratory diseases or people who are carers for the elderly or whatever it might be. Some of those people may never be able to go to shows again. I don't know. But maybe the vaccine will be flawless, but it's possible that even when we get back to a point where most young, fit, healthy people can go to shows, there will still be people for whom that isn't true. And I don't want those people to just be like, well, fuck you can't come to a show or ever see a show again. That sucks. You know what I mean? So there is an argument to be made that there might be an element of streaming in the future that becomes more common. But I still cling to this idea that a rock and roll show is of different, like, conceptual category to a live stream. And I don't want to sort of almost to turn around and say that I was going to do Lost Evenings virtually would almost feel defeatist to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to do that again somewhere in the world when I can, and I can't wait, and I don't know when and where it's going to be, but it'll happen. But maybe we have to be patient.
So like right before this whole virus thing happened, I was actually lucky enough to see one of my last concerts, which was you. In Boston at the Sinclair, but it was Mongol Horde.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, now I'm with you. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
That was an amazing show to go to. My wife is the one. We've been together 9 years, and she's the one that got me into your music. And ever since our first month of dating, we've gone to see you every single year. So it's been it's been weird this fall because you usually come to Boston in the fall time. We're usually at a Frank Turner concert right now.
yeah, sure, totally. I'll get my guitar. I'll do something now.
We're all in.
Yeah. I mean, Mongol Horde's a lot of fun. It's a different thing. It's a different character side of my personality, let's say.
So if I could talk about John Snodgrass. So you've released a couple of singles with John Snodgrass, and he's like. I wasn't familiar with him at all until I listened to those couple of songs on Spotify, and he's worked with a ton of like American underground people, like the Descendants and all these like punk rock bands and stuff. Yeah. And how did you hook up with him?
I met John on a tour called the Revival Tour that was in, it was a thing that Chuck Reagan from Hot Water Music organized. It happened a few times. I did 2008 and 2009, and he was on 2009. John's amazing. He's a lovely guy. He has an enormous pedigree. I think there's a fair argument to be made that he was one of the first people to start bringing country influences into punk rock of my broader generation. Do you know what I mean? Obviously there's Social D and there's other things, but like if you look back at the Armchair March and stuff, or indeed Drag the River, most importantly, because John's a country aficionado, and there was a real influence coming in there at even before Lucero were doing it, you know what I mean? And so, but he's just a super nice dude. He's wildly eccentric in a completely lovable way. I remember at the end of the tour that we did together in 2009, last day of the tour, I was like, let's swap phone numbers. And he said, oh, buddy. He said, you want to be careful. He said, I can't do an American accent, so I'm not going to try. He said, you want to be careful. He said, you give me your phone number. I'm the kind of guy who's going to use it. And I'm just like, okay. And he did. And yeah, he's just a lovely guy. And we did this record 10 years ago called Buddies that we wrote in a day and recorded in a day. This one we wrote in a day over Zoom back in like April, I think it was, April or May. Real depth of lockdown kind of time, and we wrote 10 songs in a day, and then I spent time, so I've been learning how to like properly engineer and mix and produce records during lockdown. So I arranged, recorded, mixed the album. So that's how that's gone. John did vocals and guitar, and I did pretty much everything else.
That drops on what, the 13th?
Yes, I'm going to say yes. I don't.
November 13th.
Yes,
Buddies.
There we go. Thank you. Well done. That's good. Well
I'm your
read.
PR guy.
Yeah.
And
well,
The
you're hired.
Flies, it's out now.
Yeah. But we had Stefan Edgerton from Descendants play drums on about half the record, which was so cool. I've known Stefan for a few years, but he's still fucking Stefan Edgerton from Descendants. You know what I mean? Like,
he invented a genre. You wouldn't have bands like Blink-182 or Green Day or any of the pop punk stuff without
that shit. Yeah, totally. So it was a super fun record to make, and we've got 2 songs out there now, and I'm looking forward to everyone hearing the whole thing.
I have a question about Bad Times, Good Vibes. When I first listened to it on Spotify, first of all, it's a great tune. It starts off as this punk tune, and then it has this really great country breakdown where John comes in and really just, gives it that Americana thing. But then when I first listened to it, the second half was like a conversation you guys were having. Like the music stopped, and it was like you guys talking in the studio, and then John like took a phone call from his daughter or something like that. And what I think is really funny is he calls you Francis.
Yeah, he does, as does my mother. Him and my mom.
Jesus.
So was that something that was like consciously put in there, or did you guys was it an accident and then you were like, oh fuck it, let's just leave it? It's fun.
No, so the first Buddies record is because we recorded it in a day, pretty much as like it wasn't quite one long take, but it wasn't far off that. It's got loads and loads of chat between the songs.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of a feature of that record. So we wanted to do the same thing again for this one. Obviously, we weren't recording it quite the same way, so it had to be ever so slightly staged. But the way that we did it is that we just kind of set up the record on like a shared listening stream thing with each other, and then just like chatted over Zoom and recorded each other's end of it, whatever. So the record has a lot of silly talking on it.
Well, I have to. Sadly, it's gone. It's just the song now.
Well, we did a quote unquote single edit. There will be like once the record proper comes out, there's a lot of nonsense on it.
Because I was really confused. I was like, "What the fuck's going on here?" And then I'm like, "Punk rock." Just a fucking.
That's how I feel. That's usually how hanging out with John is. What the fuck is going on here? But it's punk as fuck. So
the next album should be called "What the Fuck Is Going On Here."
Right.
Well, no, actually, John's decided that the next record in another 10 years is going to be called Buddies 3, Buddies at Sea.
Okay.
So,
all right.
In
10 more years.
Record it in a boat, and I'm like, that sounds like a terrible idea. But anyway,
I liked the when you did "Make America Great Again" from "Be More Kind." I listened to the song first of all and was like, okay, because obviously "Make America Great" is all over the place, a Trump, line. And then I listened to the song and I was like, okay. Then I dug a little deeper and saw the video when you were in Austin, Texas, and you came out with the bow tie and you had a sign that was like, I'm just going to walk around. First of all, I fucking miss just being able to walk around, because you're out talking to people, shaking hands, and people were writing really cool things on this sign about what they really loved about America. Talk about that "Make America Great Again" song and what inspired you to do it and what inspired you just to walk around in Austin.
I mean, it was that was a song written in 2016, and it was we sort of touched on this earlier, and I don't want to get too deep into talking about politics, but like,
neither do we.
It seems to me that Donald Trump represents the American id, the worst parts of America and the bits that I don't like personally. And just kind of like the worst instincts of the national culture in a way that's kind of a shame, because I think that the better instincts of American culture are fantastic. So I wanted to write this. I had the idea of writing the song, and I was kind of staggered that I was like, I've got to get this song out there because someone's going to beat me to the punch. It's such an obvious idea for a song. And nobody else did it. So whatever.
You win.
Yeah. Really. But yeah, so put the song out there, and then for the video, like walking around dressed like an asshole in the street in Austin, Texas, even though it's Austin, so it's a pretty it's comparatively safe area to do that during South by Southwest. There's a lot of strange people around. Nevertheless, walking up to people dressed like an idiot and ask them questions, I'm not like one of those comedians who does that. That doesn't come naturally to me. So I got pretty drunk before I did it. In order to, and then also had some friends help me out, kind of collaring people to come and be part of the video. But it was really fun. We got a broad selection of people. There were some pretty crazy people there. But it was cool. I like it. It was fun.
I encourage people to Google that "Make America Great." Look for the video he did in Austin. It was great work. Very funny.
Guys, I hate to do this. I have another interview in 2 minutes' time, so I'm gonna have to bow out.
Can I just ask you one more question? That's a yes or no. It's been almost 10 years since "I Still Believe" came out, And over that 10 years, you've gone through a lot musically, personally, and everything like that. Do you still believe rock and roll can save our?
Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, you know, that's a song that's always had a degree of tongue in its cheek. Not that I don't mean it necessarily, but it's like I'm not quite that fucking po-faced. Which hopefully is apparent in the song and indeed in everything I do. But like, yeah, definitely. I don't think rock and roll saves the world, but it saved me, you know, and that's meaningful to me. That's great. Yeah, and it still gives my life meaning. In fact, the thing that I nearly missed the start of this interview for is I'm working on a record with a friend of mine at the moment, and I was knee deep in working out a killer fucking bass line. And, you know, and there's nothing better than, and Kim Kardashian couldn't have played it. And you know,
she sucks.
Yeah, and it was just, I love it. Yeah, it's still my whole life.
Go do your thing, brother. Frank Turner's Buddies 2 coming out November 13th, brother. It comes out November 13th.
Can't wait till you're back in Boston again.
I certainly, as soon as I possibly can be.
Good luck,
man.
Peace.
See you later.
Good luck.
Bye.
Man.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
That was awesome, Josh. I didn't realize you and the wife year after year went and saw him. That's very cool.
Oh yeah, no, Frank. I wanted to tell him, but yeah, Frank was her favorite musician, and like still to this day, I can tell when she's sick or hungover or not feeling well because she listens to Frank. It's like over here.
Hey, that's good. He's got some really good music. I wanted to ask him, I didn't get to it, but how he went from a hardcore band, Million Dead, and what that sounds like. It's like listening to Corey Taylor, Mike. It's like you go from, you know, Broken Glass to fucking Neo Forte off the fucking latest album. Like, whoa.
Well, you know, like he was super young then, and you know, you're full, as they say, full of piss and vinegar. And then you start, and in his case, he just became a very good songwriter and felt, you know, that the way he does things now is the best way to present his music. And I think you know, he's good friends with this artist named Billy Bragg, who is very much like him. In fact, when I first heard Frank Turner on the radio, I first thought it was Billy Bragg, and then it's like, no, he sounds too young. I was like, I wonder if this is Billy Bragg's kid. Very much like Billy Bragg in a lot of ways. And Billy Bragg was doing the same thing he's doing now, kind of back in the early 80s when I saw him. And his thing, Billy Bragg's thing was he was a folk singer, but he didn't play an acoustic guitar. He played an electric guitar.
Oh, cool.
And he would come out with just an electric guitar and him, and he'd sing his songs, and he was funny, and he was just like Frank. He had great sense of humor, very clever, but he's also a super activist and does a lot for charities and efforts to help you know, people who are down and out. And so I think that influence, because I wanted to ask him about him helping other artists, who was the person that helped him the most. But I bet that he would probably say, I'm guessing he would say Billy Bragg.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because he kind of took him under his wing, and they've done a lot of stuff. If you search Billy Bragg, Frank Turner on YouTube, you'll see them playing together at a ton of stuff. And Billy Bragg is definitely worth your time seeking out if you're looking for something new to listen to.
Which is funny because like his style that is kind of like it's like maybe like a folk Americana type sound. Mm-hmm. That Frank Turner has. And then like, that's how I was introduced to him. I didn't know about his hardcore, like bands in his past. And then when I went to go see Mongol Horde, he like came out, in the beginning of the first Mongol Horde song was the beginning to a Christmas song. And I was like, oh, it's just like Frank Turner. And then it got to a certain point and he just kicked the mic stand and he was at an 11 for the next hour.
Yeah. He still has that in him. You know, a lot of artists, you know, they like you said, Isaiah, Corey Taylor's like that. You know, he can do stuff like, you know, Through Glass, you know, and then he'll do stuff with Slipknot or, you know, other Stone Sour.
Right.
It's like, how can you sing like that after screaming like that?
Oh my God. Corey Taylor's voice, a bunch of interviews, whether it was on AAF or what, you know, the guy's voice is shot. I'm like, you got to do some Lemon Juice, man. Because when he sing, I mean, sounds like Frank. I mean, good voice, good writer, but then can, like you said, kick a stand over and go on 12 for an hour.
Yeah. Strong performer. Yeah. Well, that was great setting that up, Josh, because
that was good.
Frank Turner, not as much as you have, but I've listened to his music over the years, and it's cool to actually talk to him and get some insight.
Yeah, I liked that whole "Be More Kind" album. I listened to that. I got through that whole one. I tried the Fleas rather, which is the new single off this thing, and then I just went back to that and stuck with one album, and it was pretty. Like, I was not surprised, but I mean, I'm a pretty hardcore rock guy, but that was good shit. That was really good music.
Great songwriter, and the Fleas is such a like That's a heavy tune, just about how much humanity is sucks. But he always has a little bit of idealism, in his music. So he'll give you the really depressing stuff sometimes, but there'll always be some kind of positive twist. Like he has this song that haunts me. It's called "Falling in Love." Josh, have you heard that one?
What is it? Falling in Love?
Yes. Yeah.
Super depressing. It sounds like the National or the really sad Radiohead stuff.
Really?
And I'm listening to it, and it's about this couple, and it's from like he's, I guess, playing one of them, the guy's side, and he's saying things like the cabin's filling with smoke, and the oxygen masks are coming down, and hold on to my hand, and things are going to be okay. And then eventually it turns a little like, okay, we're going to die, but our love will never die.
Ooh.
And
it's like super depressing, but you still come away feeling like,
there's that little bit, if you can call it that little bit of idealism, like, all right, we're dead. We're going to die in a fiery plane crash, but we're in love.
We're together still, at least.
We're in a good place because there's a lot of people who aren't feeling like this on this plane.
Right.
We're going to die, maybe never even feel what love ever was or is or whatever like that, but we're in love. So I was like, that's the title, literally falling in love.
But
it haunted me, and to the point where it's like I listened to it twice, and then I was like, I can't listen to this anymore. And I was like, I want to hear this song. I don't know if I'm ready for it. Maybe I should get home first, so I can hug the child after listening to it. It's such a good tune.
Maybe
man.
I shouldn't smoke weed before listening to it.
Yeah, this is not.
Don't get so high.
No, it is terrible.
Speaking of hugging your child, you're doing homeschooling today. You said that Chloe's doing some math.
Well, Worcester Tech is learning virtually, so I got to get off here because this is not just my office, but it's her classroom now. Like her stuff is all over the place. There's like notebooks and pens and things, and she's got a math quiz coming up here in about 5 minutes. So I gotta.
It's a radio studio and a math room.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a math class. She's like
check your mail, do the math, do a podcast, it's everything in there.
I don't want to brag, but she's acing math, and
Good.
I think it's fantastic. But at the same time, it's baffling because I failed algebra 4 times.
It's your wife's genes.
Finally, just said, "Just move on, just move him out of here. He's a pain in the ass." And then I had to take it during summer school when I went to college so I could get my degree. I'm so bad at math, and my wife is the same way. My wife is just terrible at math. But she's like,
well, if you knew math, you'd know 2 negatives make a positive. I don't know if that's right, but
what?
If 2 people are bad at math, maybe it's you
my head hurt.
Someone good at math.
Gosh, I'm so bad at math. I don't even know what that means.
I'm confused. Nobody on this show could
y
be
equals mx plus b, and I don't know what that means, but
I don't know. All I know
nobody could be an accountant on this show.
I haven't used algebra yet. That's all I know.
You know what I use? I use a fucking calculator.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I got one on my phone.
Exactly.
Your binder. But yeah, that was
great. Do we need to do sponsors, or do you have that all pre-recorded?
No, I'll do them. But I do wish we were able to talk to him longer. Maybe we'll get him on again sometime.
He was good.
He's got this thing coming up. I think it's on the 13th when the new album comes out called where is it here? It's the Kind Fest 2020. Okay. And that's going to be a live stream event also on November 13th.
Okay.
Maybe we can get him back on to promote that, or if he's got another charity thing going on, just, reach out, Josh, let him know that if he wants to promote,
full support. Because I do like on his website that they actually have, 2021 shows. There's one in France, one in Belgium. It's like, fuck it. At least put these things on the calendar. We don't know if we can get there, but at least they're trying to think about doing dates. I mean, what the fuck else can we do? Got to move everything out 1 year.
Yeah. You gotta be ready.
Right.
And like he was talking, those crews are hurting. So,
oh God,
you got to give them some kind of hope. And then if it can actually happen, get it in the gear so they can start earning money again. Not just them, but the parking attendants and the
everybody
vendors and, security people and maintenance. I mean, everything that goes along with sporting events and live music.
I can't wait for the first live show.
I know. I miss that. I really miss that the most.
So bad.
And I miss sitting at a bar watching the shitty Red Sox. I miss that.
We might get Alex Cora back. We can just kind of like say those 2 years didn't happen.
Whatever.
See ya. Same thing with the Patriots. Let's pretend it didn't happen. Celtics push them to the side and start over.
Bring him back. Make him president. That's what.
Yes.
He already knows how to cheat and win. You know,
wait a minute.
Neither of these guys do apparently. So
Hey,
let's bring them back for crying out loud.
All right, I got to get my fucking cat. He's eating everything in the fucking room. Shut up.
Out of here. My daughter's got a math quiz.
All right. Go back to bed, Josh. Hope your back feels better.
All right, Josh.
Thanks.
Big shout out to Nicole at Invoke Media. Find her at invoke.media. Web design, SEO, anything digital marketing. She put together breakingtheicepodcast.com. That's where you can see all of our episodes, all the blogs, all the pictures, the merchandise, all kinds of stuff. Big shout out to Nicole. She's a huge supporter of Breaking the Ice. Thank you, Nicole. Invoke.media is where you can find her. So if you need any digital marketing, SEO, SEM, web development, website stuff, Nicole is your girl. Thank you.
So you guys may have noticed that you haven't been hearing my dogs a lot in the previous episodes. I know now I'm in the studio. I'm not at home. But the reason that the barking kind of took a nosedive was because they've been spending a lot of time at our new sponsor, Holliston Meadows Pet Resort. And I love bringing them there. By the time they get home, they're zoinked out. They're out for the night. They're awesome with the dogs at Holliston Meadows. They have parties for the dogs. It's a resort. I mean, they have like gourmet. You're not going to get me to say it. I think this is why they signed on, because they want me to say treat. But anyway, Holliston Meadows Pet Resort offers boarding, daycare, grooming services, and as I said, they do major holiday parties. They have one coming up for Halloween. Last year, they got pictures with Santa, and I think this year they're doing something for Thanksgiving. So, I mean, if that's the kind of thing you're into and you want to dress your dog up like Mike Shue hates, if you have a pet, first of all, bring him to Holliston Meadows Pet Resort, and then make an Instagram for that pet, and then follow Mike Shue. He will love you for it. So go follow Holliston Meadows on Instagram while you're on there, making an Instagram for your pet at Holliston Meadows, or go to hollistonmeadows.com to book your next stay. They're so exclusive, they only take pets. And of course, we got to give a huge shout out to Chris Riggs of Garage Doors Plus. I mean, he's been with us since the beginning. He was there when AF went off the air. He was in studio with us, and he has been a loyal supporter of the Breaking the Ice podcast. And we've had him on a few times, and he's been on HGTV. Now I'm just going through this kid's resume. They offer custom garage doors, parts, accessories, garage door installation and maintenance. He also does security gates, and also offers 24/7 emergency repair, which is actually pretty nice because I got stuck in a garage when I was 5, but that's a whole other story for another time. But it never would have happened on Chris Riggs' watch at Garage Doors Plus. I wish I had his number back then in 1997. So go to gdplus.com. Chris and his professional team will make sure that you have the highest level of help, and they offer free estimates. So call 617-458-1148 or email Chris at gdplus.com. That's Chris at gdplus.com. They open doors when you can't. Also, our friend Matt over at Wolfpack Coffee USA has been fueling this podcast for months now, and I can't thank him enough because, I mean, I know we drink beer sometimes on the show, but make no mistake, the rest of the day is Wolfpack Coffee. I should probably drink a little bit more water. Do you think? There's water in the coffee, right? Wolfpack Coffee is veteran-owned, veteran-run, and if you're not drinking Wolfpack Coffee every day, I have one question for you. Why do you hate the troops? No, I'm kidding. But seriously, if you support the troops, go support Wolfpack Coffee. For all your coffee needs, go to wolfpackcoffeeusa.com and follow them on Instagram at Wolfpack Coffee USA. Also, they have a pretty nice website built by Nicole at Invoke Media, who also built our site and made us look way more professional than we are. So go to wolfpackcoffeeusa.com. I think they have a tagline here, right? Run with the pack and drink up. Wolfpack Coffee USA.